Hello, my friend. How are you? It's kind of awkward because I put the microphone so far back so that I could actually lay back and chill out today. I'm feeling pretty mellow this afternoon, this evening, I should say. Well, what is the subject of today's conversation? Well, today I wanted to talk a little bit about how sometimes bad things happen to you. I'm not going to say bad things happen to good people because that's very cliche. I'm going to say sometimes bad things can happen to you, or they can really happen to anybody. And the question is, how do you respond? And I've read a lot of history. I've read a lot of psychology. I've read quite a bit of theology, a lot of philosophy. And one of the common trends is that the battle is not over until the enemy is either totally conquered or they surrender. Well, in this case, one of the potential enemies is actually you. It's the versions of you that you should not allow to take control of the ship. You should not allow them to be in charge of you and your life. And so, in those moments, you need to confront your impulses, I would say, the lower order versions of yourself that, desire to get revenge or whatever the case, or, the lower order parts of you that want to win the battle at the expense of winning the war. You can't listen to those versions of you. Hi, honey. You can't allow those versions of yourself to become the leaders of the ship, so to speak, because that's not going to be good for your life. That's winning the battle to lose the war, right? We don't want to do that. Instead, what we should aim to do is if we have to lose a battle, to lose it gracefully, but aim instead to win the war. And the war might be against you, but the war might just be your condition in general. Come here, honey. Sorry if she bumps the microphone. She's in a cuddly mood. Oh, yes. What a sweet girl. She does these little flops and it's very cute. Okay. She had other ideas, other plans for this video. So, what do you do? What do you do in those situations? Come here. Well, you lose the battle gracefully, you regroup, and you figure out how to take the next battle in stride. And sometimes losing the battle means there is no recourse. There is no saving face. There is nothing. You lose, whether rightfully or inrightfully, whether justfully or unjustly, unjustly, justly or unjustly. There we go. I was like, I know that word is wrong. You'll hear me do that a lot. I'm good at inventing words that are pretty close to the right thing, but not actually the right thing. And so you may just flat out lose. There might not be any saving grace to a particular situation. Well, you want to be the star of this video? Oh my gosh. At least she's cute. Oh, come on, don't bump the microphone at least. At least don't do that, Boba. This is not very polite. What a sweetie. So, yes, but the broader point is that even if you lose that battle, even if you withdraw, even if your army is crushed, even if you lose or possibly even surrender one of the conflicts, as long as you can regroup and get ready for the next battle, you're in a good position to perform pretty well in the war. And the war is your life. The war is the story of your life, which can be maintained across time. It's the efforts that are iterable, the way that you gradually creep towards the conclusion that you're aiming for. The particular battle is not actually that important in the big picture of things. And it's easy, especially for young people, to get bogged down in this feeling or this sentiment that every single battle is of utmost importance and you can't afford to ever lose. And it's not true. Many great generals and kings and armies have lost particular battles and then come back together to win in the long run. And so, one of the skill sets that you should develop over the course of your life is how to lose gracefully, how to retain the context of the broader story in your mind, even if you have a setback. It doesn't mean that you're out. It doesn't mean that you surrender. It doesn't mean that you give up. You keep going and you find a new way. And you'll go through varying levels of hardship. You'll go through varying levels of struggle. You'll go through varying levels of difficulty on the path towards that. You may evaluate the circumstances of a particular battle and you might say, wow, that was not right. The way that that happened, there's no way that that actually played out that way. And that's happened to me a few times in my life. And you might be right. You may be justified in that. Why are you being so cute? Oh my goodness. But if you're able to keep focus and maintain it in the broader sense of the story of your life, the broader narrative of your life, you should turn out just fine, especially if you're able to learn something that you could do better, even if you don't believe that it was your fault. And so that's what I try to do. I always try to learn something. I always try to grow in some way, develop some kind of skill. Go forward bigger and better and stronger. Or at least, even if not bigger and better and stronger, at least consistently go towards the goal that I'm aiming at. There's a quote, which I don't know if I still have it or not, inspired me to make this video in the first place. Let's see if I can find it. Well, this is one that I liked. Um, some fellow named Jeff Moore. I've never heard of Jeff Moore, but he's on Twitter. It says, "Every moment you interrupt overthinking with action, you remind yourself that fear is only a thought. Day to day life is a mindset training. Keep going." I agree with that. Another fun quote that I had. And these are all somewhat tangentially related. This one feels less related to the topic, but I think that it is related. I learned that it is the weak who are cruel, and that the gentlest and that gentleness is to be expected only from the strong. That's Leo Tolstoy. And then there's another one. The greatest battle is against our own lower self, and so on and so forth. And Seneca, we're injured more often in imagination than reality, and we can go on all day. You curious about what that is? You don't like it. Yeah, you don't like it. she she went to seek it out and sniff it. She's like, "Why is he doing this?" I know you don't like it. So, anyway, why do those quotes relate to this video? Well, because they're all techniques which can be related to the goal of doing well in the war, even if you lose the battle. And this requires humility. This video is going a little slow because I'm very low energy today. Very, very low energy. My blood pressure is quite low. But that's why I'm chilled out and leaning back. Actually, my blood pressure is perfect. It's super healthy. It's dead on. It's 115 over 67. But that's lower than it has been. So um, it's exhausting all the same, even though it's better. And as soon as I get my um, blood pressure stabilized there for a while, then it won't exhaust me anymore to be at that range. But until then, it's going to be tiring. Now, it will require humility to do this well. And that's probably pretty self explanatory because a fool will try to win every battle, even when it's obvious that he can't. He's going to waste his energy and his resources. He's going to embarrass himself in the defeat. And he's going to be run out of the village, the empire, etc. But the wise man understands that the war is actually much longer. And in fact, if he's wise enough, he sees that the war goes from before he was born until long after he's gone. And all of the contents of this life are important details which really matter. But this is a complicated world that we live in, and our actions echo and reverberate throughout history. And there are actions which matter deeply, and there are actions which don't matter much at all. And a lot of people focus heavily on the things that don't really matter very much, and they don't focus enough on the real substance of life, the real meat and the potatoes of this world, the relationships, the respect and admiration. People who viciously try to win every single battle, they're not very well liked in this world. But also people who don't ever try to win any battles are not very well liked. There's a spectrum of there's a spectrum in the center where sort of the Goldilocks range where you want to be. You want to win enough battles to be respected and not try to win so many that you're just detested and hated. It's an art. It's an art form to be able to do this well, to be able to live gracefully and nobly and conduct yourself in a way that is conducive to your progress across time. It requires a sort of serenity of the soul, a serenity of the spirit, a calmness, and a level of confidence and commitment and dedication and drive and passion and perseverance and a willingness to sacrifice beyond what most people are willing to do or comfortable doing. You have to find that in yourself if you really want to win wars. And an acknowledgement that battles are ugly things and wars can be even worse, but you have to do what you have to do in this life. Your choices are make an impact or be forgotten in obscurity. It reminds me of a quote from Final Fantasy Tactics, of all things, where one of the central character's name is Delita, and he captures the princess. And as he's exiting out the back of the church, making his getaway, he says, "Don't blame us, blame yourselves or God." And it's such a beautiful line. It's one of those lines that stuck with me forever. I will never forget that line from that video game. Actually, it's to me, it's one of the best. It's one of the best quotes of any story I've ever heard. And the context is that the Empire was doing things to the people that he belonged to, and he was a rebel, and he was doing this sort of tactical maneuver as a strategic advantage to support the people that he lived with, so that they could gain advantages, key strategic advantages, and in a way, the oppression of the Empire over the people that he was with is sort of the justification that he's using to commit this act. This is one of the battles, and it's a lot of intrigue and drama. And the point is not whether this particular action is justified. The point is when you start to get into battles, kind of ugly things happen, and you need to be careful about which ones you try to win and how. Obviously, capturing a princess in order to gain advantage would be a pretty dramatic decision, and it would obviously escalate things so that now if you lose, you will be crushed utterly. Because they're not exactly going to let that slide, now are they? And you can use that as a metaphor for your own life. How much do you want to escalate something? Is it worth escalating something, or is it better to eat humble pie and move forward in earnest? And one of the messages of the Bible that we receive is to turn the other cheek. That the proper way is to turn the other cheek. So, with that, I think that's a good note to end on. That's a very humble position to take. I want to wish you a good night. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like, subscribe, share the video, etc. Leave all your comments. I'm Dan versus Everything, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.